Banachek, the best I've ever seen it. Banachek's Mind Games Live, taking mind reading to new heights at the Strat Hotel, Casino, and Skypod, Las Vegas.
Shopping is always easy with the Radio Shopping Show. Whether it's shopping during any one of our live shows right here on AM 1400 or listening live on the KSHP app, you can always call in at 702-221-7283 to pick up great deals with your favorite host. Or shop 24/7 at kshp.com. Go to kshp.com and select Shopper's Guide to browse hundreds of businesses featured on the show. Place your order online and we'll have it shipped right to your front door. With so many possibilities, it's hard not to shop.
Film Festival Radio, Saturday afternoons at 3 on KSHP, North Las Vegas, AM and FM, 829-6HP, North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
It's time for the most interactive radio program in Las Vegas today. It's time for Pushing the Limits with Brian Shapiro. Brian will talk sports, politics, entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now, Pushing the Limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. It is Pushing the Limits, a beautiful day in the Valley. Boy, do we have a lot to get to. Kind of a busy news sports cycle. Yeah, a lot to get to on a Monday. Fire Josh McDaniels is trending on Twitter. I'm not surprised. We'll get to that. We got goalie Scott Gobernson going to break down this Raiders game yesterday and this absolute embarrassment. What a debacle of a football game. We'll talk about that. The Vegas Golden Knights preseason action yesterday. UNLV football with a nice win on the road. They start the season 3-1. Hopefully we're going to get a guest, a player on to join us in hour number 2 to talk about that nice win. And maybe they are bowl bound. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but a 3-1 start, really nice. So we'll talk a little bit about that. The Aces get a nice W yesterday in what you would call in the WNBA the semifinals. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. Boy, there's some Representative Paul Gosar out of Arizona is just a despicable human being. And he's really inciting violence, saying that General Mike Milley should be hung. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the program as well. Good news for the writers' strike, whatever you'd like to call it. It appears as though they have reached some sort of tentative deal. We'll get to that a little bit later on the show. Good news for a lot of people who, of course, have been out of work. Now, it is Monday. And that means that the man, the myth, the legend joining us in studio, he's on basically every radio station here in town, including PTL on KSHP. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Chris Winn himself. Chris, how was your weekend, my friend?
Shap, it's good to join you, and you as well as Numchuck, Mark, and PTL Nation out there. It was a great weekend. Had a lot of fun. A lot of action going on in Vegas this weekend, gentlemen.
Yes.
When it comes to not only the sports spectrum, you had the iHeart Music Festival in town with a number of big-time acts. You have, obviously, Life is Beautiful also in town, downtown. And so, yeah, there was a lot going on, and had a chance to cover game one of the semifinals in the WNBA with you, Brian, yesterday as the Aces took out the Dallas Stars. We talked about that later on in the show. And, of course, as you mentioned, all things Raider Nation.
Dallas Wings, by the way. You're thinking NHL Dallas Stars. You're thinking of Mike Modano.
And NHL. What are you talking about?
Did you say Dallas Wings or Dallas
Stars?
Stars?
The Stars.
I did say the Stars,
okay.
didn't I?
Yeah.
I have hockey on my mind because
he's thinking about his boy Mike Modano.
I was thinking about Mike Modano, greatest American player ever,
That's okay.
and also, of course, as the Vegas Golden Knights kicked off their preseason.
Yes, they did
Last night in San Jose.
Yep.
And we're taken out by it. Never good for Golden Knight fans to see the Sharks on the winning side of a game against Vegas.
Before we get to the actual news, of the weekend. We'll get to the sports side of it. I do want to say Chris has a lot of friends in this city that care about him very much.
Absolutely,
and
right?
I think Numchuck would agree with me on this, is that Chris, especially lately, has been a little bit high-strung. Numchuck, is that a fair assessment?
Very high-strung.
So the reason why I bring this up...
Recently? This is a thing that's been ongoing for about 25 years. But on a scale of
1 to 10, I would say lately he's been an 11. Now, I'm going to give everybody just a little sample of this, and then I'm going to tell you what we're going to do about it to try to help Chris. And no, don't get any bad ideas. Nobody's going to be performing any sexual favors on Chris live on the air, even though I wish that would happen because that would be very entertaining to watch. But this is like a sample size Every night when I go to Chris's place, not every night, but a couple times a week, I go to his place. We watch games. He's always yelling at his roommate and sometimes yelling at me. Here's a little sample size of what Chris sounded like yesterday. Have a listen to this.
Okay, you don't listen, and you're stubborn and annoying and irritating, and it's like this me off. All right, so stop talking about this. Leave it alone. No, you're not. I don't want to talk to you anymore. I'm not talking about this anymore. You are a moron, right? You have no idea what you're talking about, and you don't have any background in this topic whatsoever.
All right, so listen.
That's pretty clear and concise right there. That pretty much gives the idea, right?
So anyway, that went on for like hours yesterday, and I said to myself, we need to give Chris Winn a blood pressure test live on the air at the bottom of the hour. So his roommate is going to be nice enough to administer this blood pressure test. Listen, I'll take one as well. But we care about Chris. We want to take care of him, so we want to check his blood pressure. So anyway, we're going to be doing that at the bottom of the hour. That's just a small sample size of hours of Chris screaming at the top of his lungs. I don't even remember what they were talking about.
Hours. I would say extended minutes, right? Let's describe it as extended.
Yeah. I'd
call it been a while.
You sent me a 3-minute clip. So
hours would be unhuman, right? I wouldn't be able to do that for hours.
I think you could, Winn.
And I would probably...
What were you yelling about? Do you even remember what you were
I don't know. So here's the deal. I can kind of preface all of this. When there's situations when people say ridiculous, outrageous, outlandish things, I'm a person who is high-strung. I'm somebody who, feels the need to have to chime in and either retort or counter or educate or come about in a way. I mean, all right.
Fair enough.
I'm just trying. Okay, so you don't need to cut me off. You can let me finish talking before you jump in.
I didn't think you were going to go into detail.
Okay, so I don't know why
Chucky's doing it again.
Shapiro, it's a Monday. Okay, so yes, I'm on the show with you on Mondays. So I usually have my outspoken opinions. Here it goes.
All right,
bang.
Check his
there
blood
it is.
pressure. Anyway,
when people say do that, I have to push back. Shapiro, I have to push back at times.
Well,
okay.
We'll see what your blood pressure is at the bottom of the hour, my friend. Okay, we're going to do I'm getting ready to do a blood pressure contest with you. Anyway, so switching topics now. I'll be honest with you. I don't listen to a lot of talk radio in Las Vegas. I like KSHP, of course. I'm a fan of the show prior to mine. Doug Basham's a good friend, and he does a good job. And I listen to shows here on KSHP. But when I'm in my car, I don't listen to really any conservative talk because it's all trash. All the people in this town that are on all these stations that do conservative talk, they're all trashy people. But so I'm in my car, and I'm driving to meet a friend. It was Saturday afternoon. I'm not even going to say the name of the show because it's such a stupid name. But anyway, it's a conservative station that sadly I used to work at. Thank God I'm not there anymore. And I put on this show, and it's a bunch of Republicans, and I think it's one Democrat. There's like 4 people in studio, and they're screaming at each other, talking about the 2 kids that mowed down, the 2 teenagers that mowed down that innocent bicyclist. And it's unlistenable radio, but I'm putting it on because it's so bad. I know some friends of mine, they listen to certain shows in town because it's so bad. They find it entertaining. This was
what do you mean certain friends? You're the one sitting across from me right now. I gave you that's the definition of why I listen to some of these shows is because they're so ridiculous.
Correct.
And by the way, let me interject real quick here on your story. You just talked about how you don't listen to radio guys, right? But he's now about to tell a story about how he listens to local shows.
It's the first time.
But go ahead.
It's the first time I ever listened to the show. I never have.
Okay.
And they're talking about the 2 kids who mowed down that retired police lieutenant, from out of California on the bike.
Mm-hmm.
One of the hosts is blaming liberals for why this crime took place. And I'm saying to myself, you have to be a certain type of stupid and an ignorant right-wing buffoon to make a statement like that. And it got me really angry because I actually spoke to the man who died. I spoke to his daughter, and just nice person, nice family. It's a horrible tragedy. And to have the idea that these 2 animals who did this, and that's what they are, and I hope they spend the rest of their life behind bars, watch CNN or know the legal policies of Republicans versus Democrats, to even make a claim like that makes you an ignoramus. You're a stupid MAGA.
Well, what was the reasoning behind that? You can't just make that statement and not back it up with any
liberal
reasoning.
policies is what somebody said on the show. Lean liberal policies. The liberal policies. First of all, we have a Republican governor, so anybody who makes a statement like that is an idiot. And so I got angry. Okay, because it's an absolute stupid statement making this political, which it has nothing to do with politics.
Right.
So I did something that I rarely do. I think I've called in maybe several times into shows in 20 years I've been in town. And I called in, and I basically called them idiots, and I gave them reasons why. If I call somebody a name, I'm not just going to call them. I give them reasons why. And I said, these two animals, it didn't matter whether Republicans or Democrats were in office. It didn't matter whether, it was the electric chair. They still would have done what they did. That wouldn't have been a deterrent, okay? I understand one of the animals that was driving the car said, I'll be out in 30 days because he's a cocky, 17-year-old animal and stupid. Of course he's going to make a statement like that. He thinks he's invincible. Has nothing to do with Republican or Democratic policy. So anyway, I made that point.
Right.
They didn't rebuttal anything. Oh, I'm sorry if you took it that way. I'm not blaming liberals. Somebody on the show did.
Wait a minute, time out. So they switched
They
on the
retracted.
air
Yes.
instantaneously
Correct.
after you confronted them about that viewpoint.
Correct.
And then they switched it, and then they didn't give any reason
Correct.
why they were switching it.
No
at all.
pushback on what I said because
Wow.
I destroyed them. All right, so I hang up the phone. They kept me on for like 4 or 5 minutes, by the way. And then I'm just going to call this guy out because there are some people that call into this show that will call into other shows. They will literally call into other shows.
Right.
And they will say that they listen to me and they'll call me out because they're cowards. So we have a guy that calls into this show. His name is JD.
Yeah.
And he calls in from time to time. So he calls into their show. This is about 10 minutes after my call. And he says my name. Now, they all knew on the show who I was.
They all knew it was
Yeah,
you. That
they
was
all-
on there
they all-
too, by the
I'm
way.
not-
It wasn't like it was a
I
mystery.
wasn't hiding my
You
name.
weren't calling in by
No.
a different name or anything like that.
No, absolutely not. And the idea that some hosts say, well, radio hosts shouldn't call into other shows. Oh, really? What law is that? I'm a listener just
Well,
like
it's not a
anybody
law.
else.
It's
I know. Some people think, oh, you shouldn't call into other shows. Screw you. I'll do it if I want to. It's a free country. Anyway, so the guy calls in, and then and I remember what he said because I thought it was hilarious and a lie. He says, that's Brian Shapiro. He's a race baiter, and he only debates people after somebody comes on the show. He'll debate them the next day when they're not there, which, again, is a complete farce and a lie. I have people on this show all the time, Republicans, people that I disagree with all the time, and I'm happy to have debates with them. And the idea that I'm afraid to get into a debate with somebody or I'm not willing to be face-to-face with somebody is a bald-faced lie. So, JD, the caller, if you'd like to call on the show and not be a coward and tell me why you think I race bait and give me specific examples of how I race bait, I'll give you that opportunity. But you're just like so many other MAGA morons out there that are cowards that will be a Twitter tough guy or go on social media and say Brian's a liar. But then when I give you the opportunity to call in and actually have a debate, you don't do it because you're a coward. You call into other shows. There are cowards out there, and you are one of them, JD.
Checking out the YouTube text line, Brian Shapiro, Mr. Orange Space Tang, which, by the way, is a great name to have on social media. I like it when Edward calls in, also doesn't raise his voice and is willing to listen, chiming in. Look, you're talking about calling out JD, right? Here's the news flash, Brian. He's going to call into the show. The guy calls in all the time on your show. So
well, that's fine.
He absolutely does call in your show. So
the truth of the matter
you'll
is
have that
that
opportunity. Next time he calls.
Anybody who knows me, anybody who doesn't even know me well, but you just know me, I love to debate. In fact, I would rather people call into the show, and I would rather have guests that disagree with me. In fact, we're going to have a guest on Friday.
Right.
She's part of an advocacy group against drag queens reading books to kids. The reason why I'm having her in is, yes, I do want to hear her side, but I want to get into a debate with her because I don't understand these people. I do this every day on this show. So the idea that somehow I'm afraid of debating people is absurd. It's ridiculous. And I have more Republicans on this show than Democrats. So that's a lie. And as far as the race baiting comment, I say things on this show that are very general things, which are, I want everyone to be treated as equals, regardless of what the color of their skin is or what their sexuality is. If I see a hate crime, it could be a hate crime towards somebody that's white or black. It could be a hate crime against somebody that's gay or whatever. I call it out because there's no place for that in society. And I think most reasonable people would agree with me on that. I don't bring up race just for the case of bringing up race. I bring up race when it's relevant. When something happens and race could or possibly is a factor, I bring that up. Or when race absolutely is a factor. Like, for example, Ahmaud Arbery. He was an innocent black man jogging down the street. If that was a white person jogging down the street, that person would not have been lynched. Ahmaud Arbery is dead because he's black, and you had 3 Klansmen that murdered him. So there are times in society where, yes, I do believe people are treated differently because of race. On the other side of that, I also talk about the fact that I don't like the fact that people of a certain color will get into college over somebody of another color. I don't agree with that either. I've never agreed with those policies, and I never will.
Well, it's called affirmative action.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never agreed with affirmative action either. I try to be fair on this show, and that's not race baiting. Now, somebody like JD, who I'm assuming is a guy in his 70s, white guy in his late 70s, who's a conservative, he sounds like the racist.
Well, you don't have to assume that. That's what he is. We've met him.
He sounds like the racist. He takes every opportunity going after brown people.
He might be in his 80s, actually.
And well, maybe his 90s. I don't know.
Yeah, he might be in his 90s.
I'm sure he looks like the Crypt Keeper.
He probably looks decent, though, in his 90s, if he's in his 90s.
But he takes every opportunity and every phone call to every show to go after people that are undocumented in this country.
Exactly. Yeah.
And by the way, I'll share one other story, JD the caller. When I was doing a show at another station, I showed up to the studio and I saw a note from him personalized to me, basically begging me to be a fill-in host for me, desperately wanting to do a radio show. Well, let me be clear. He'll never be a radio host because he's a talentless clown and he doesn't know how to do radio, and he's always wanted to do one, but he's a joke. So he calls into all these shows and badmouths, a host like me, but doesn't have the stones to do it, on this show. But we'll do it on another show. So, JD, you're a coward. But, hey, you're welcome to call in, but you'll never host for me or anybody else in this town. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
So, Shap, let me jump in, though, real quick. Let me play devil's advocate just a little bit on what you're talking about. So, and I'm in no way or shape or form trying to defend JD or anybody else that's out there criticizing you. But what there's a possibility he's referring to, right, is when you have guests, for example, right? You have guests that you have in studio that you disagree with, right, that are Republicans.
All the
That'll
time.
say things that are out,
all the time.
The gentleman last week that you had here in studio. You have the woman who comes on Fridays and has been on and off on your show over the last 6 months. The black woman originally from California, Rhonda Kennedy, people like that.
Please don't refer to her as the black woman because you might be labeled a racist.
Well, why? Because
I'm just kidding.
She's a black woman.
I'm
right?
just kidding. Go
so
ahead.
Anyway, you have people in studio, right, that you vehemently disagree with, right? You have absolute disagreement.
Sure.
With. So
all the time.
What I think JD is referring to when he's talking about you wait till they get is when you do make comments, right, after you interview them, or if it is a caller that calls into the show, right, or excuse me, it's a guest you have on the phone. Right, and you have an interview. I don't know why you're looking at me.
What do you mean guest?
Okay,
you mean a caller or a guest?
Time out. Just let me. Wait, I don't know why you're looking at me perplexed. What I'm talking about is very real.
Check
you have guests. You have guests on the phone that are not in studio, or you have guests via StreamYard or Skype, right? That you interview, and then what he's referring to. I don't know. Again, I don't know why you're looking at me perplexed. I'm describing something very.
I'm not looking at you perplexed.
Very detailed right now. So when after the interview's over, right, and you have your quick commentary after the interview, you do have an opportunity. You take the opportunity to either be critical or you'll say things that you did not say during the interview. I think that's what he's referring to. You're looking at me perplexed, like you don't understand what I'm saying. So after the interview,
okay, can I respond?
Do I need to repeat it?
No, please don't. I'd like to respond. So,
okay, so yeah, after the interview,
can I respond to what you just said?
That you wouldn't say.
Let me just respond to what
when they were on the air.
Okay, so when I'm conducting,
doesn't understand that or no?
When I'm conducting an interview,
exactly.
In certain situations, I let them get their point across. And it's an interview where I will share my opinions, but when I have more time after the interview and I process some of the things that they say, then I make commentary on the interview. And there's nothing wrong. And that's a standard that many radio talk show hosts do, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that I don't want to.
First of all, did I say there was anything wrong with it? I'm just describing it.
I
never said there's anything wrong with it. I'm not criticizing you.
Calm down. I'm not talking about you. I'm just making general statements. Relax. We'll take your blood pressure in 5 minutes. Calm down. I'm making general terms to people out there that are listening that when I do an interview, There are times where I push back, and there are times that I let them go. It depends on the interview. It depends on how much time I have with them. It depends on what I have going next segment. There's a lot of different reasons that go into it. But that doesn't mean I'm afraid to debate somebody or this idiot JD who calls into other shows bashing me that I'm afraid to, or I'll just comment on it the next day. That's a lie. That's a bald-faced lie. I've been doing this stuff for 20 years, and I'll debate anybody. I debate some crazy MAGA morons.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll debate anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. I'm not afraid to debate anybody. It's just it's a case by case basis. But the idea that somehow I'm a race baiter too is absurd.
Well, race bait's a term that's used by people. It's the same thing as woke. When people talk about race baiting, and not let me rephrase. Not every time it's not, but a lot of times people toss out that word just like they toss out woke. In an appearance to criticize people when it's not necessarily warranted. Right? They'll toss it out there because they disagree that something is actually racist that's being talked about when it actually is racist, right?
Yes.
They'll throw out the word woke because woke, in a general sense, all that is just basic awareness, right? Awareness of things that are askew, awareness of things that necessarily aren't right, awareness of things that might be racist, might be bigoted, might be judgmental, might be looked at in a negative connotation that shouldn't be looked at in that way. That's the way people toss that word out there because you're being woke as if it's some as if it's some some effing thing that is negative when it shouldn't be negative.
Chris just stopped himself.
So that's what I did. I did say that. I did stop myself. But you understand what I'm saying. So so a lot of people toss that phrase out there, and it isn't necessarily something that should be tied to what we're talking about.
Yeah, no question. I think for the record, I think a lot of people that use the term race baiter are usually the racists themselves. They don't want to talk about racial issues. They don't want to admit the fact that systemic racism exists. They don't want to admit the fact that in society, sometimes if you're white, you have advantages over people who possibly are minorities. So anyway, if JD the caller is out there, I'd love to know why he calls into other shows like the coward that he is, trashing me. I find that to be very funny. I will open up the phone lines at 702-221. 7283. I do want to bring this up quickly because I think it's an important story and it goes to show you how some on the far right, like the Donald Trumps of the world, incite violence. Paul Gosar is a despicable human being. I've said that about him from the get-go. He's a racist. He spreads right-wing propaganda, and this isn't the first time he's incited violence. He suggested on Sunday that Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Mark Milley, should be hung for his response to the January 6, 2021 riots at the Capitol. In a newsletter on Sunday, Gosar offered his thoughts on the testimony from the former Capitol Police Chief, Stephen Sund, to the House Administration Committee last week. Gosar said that Sund was the chief at the time that the attacks, had requested National Guard assistance, but claimed it was delayed by Milley. Donald Trump also put out something on his Truth Social, basically saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, back in the day, if Milley did that, he would have been executed. So this is inciting violence. Gosar is a despicable human being. It's sad. It's disgusting. And it's a joke. 702-221-7283 is the number to call again. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Harold. Harold is first on Pushing the Limits.
What's up, Harold?
Hello, Harold.
Yes, this is Jessica Rosen-Warthel, chairwoman of the FCC, and I'm fining Chris Winn $325,000 for indecent material.
What? Yeah, good call. Hey, that's a toned down version of what this caller usually does, right, Brian? I would assess that individual calling into the show right now is the same one that calls in and he'll unload.
Harold, I'm on your side.
Harold will unload a loud barrage on your show.
That's the guy that normally goes.
That's the guy, right? Normally goes.
Yeah.
Try it, Shapiro. You blah 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 blah.
He always
blah,
goes.
And you get
You're
cut
a
off.
bleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Idiot.
That's the guy.
Well, at least
Same
he
dude.
bleeps it. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Good work. Good work.
Harold, by the way.
That was we could actually hear him there and actually understand him for the first time ever.
For the record, Harold, I'm on your side. I do believe Chris Winn is extremely indecent. I agree.
I do get called that a lot.
702-221-7283. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Edward. Edward, what's up?
Hey, Chris. Hey, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Edward, what's going on?
Hey, no much. Hey, Chris, nice haircut, by the way. I noticed it.
I had to buzz it up, man. I was looking like John from Ponch and John and Chips, 1970s. So I had to get rid of it. I had the feathers going.
Yeah, but he was more skinnier. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
What's up, Edward? What's on your mind?
Not much. I didn't really have much. I was just thinking, like, just some topics in general about the race thing and stuff like that. I mean, do you feel like maybe that's a baiting kind of thing whenever you're bringing up race?
No.
Like, what do y'all feel about it?
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah, sure. Come on. I got one for y'all, though. I have a big one for y'all, though, today.
If for example...
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let me turn it around on you for a second. If I
baiting is actually in the phrase, so that's why they.
Yes. Okay.
If
as long as it's not master, as long as the word master is in front of that word.
Okay, let me give me a second here. Let me just let me turn it around.
He's making it funny there, Brian. You just
I heard
it. No, you blew right past it.
If for example, hypothetically speaking, and obviously we hope this doesn't happen, but I'm just giving it as a hypothetical, as an example.
Sure.
Let's just say three black people in a car using the term cracker, and as they use the term cracker, they say, "Get that cracker." And there's a white person on the side of the road, and they shoot that person and kill that person. Would you call me a race baiter if I talked about it on the air the next day and said this was a hate crime and these three people are racist towards white people? Would you call me a race baiter? Would you think it would be inappropriate for me to talk about race?
No, because it is about race.
Exactly.
Part of the agenda was about race. Part of that.
Right.
Was.
So let's be very clear on this. These two, I'm going to use the example of the two animals who mowed this bicyclist over. They're animals.
Yeah,
I hope they go to jail for the rest of their life.
Monsters.
But when people bring up race into this, it has no bearing. And there's no evidence that they did this because the guy was white. That wouldn't make it any better or worse because the guy is dead. It's a horrible story. I bring up race when I believe it's appropriate. Now, sometimes I'll bring opinions into it, but I don't bring up race unless I think it's necessary to talk about it. And I find that a lot of people that don't like talking about race, or the JDs who call into this show who think I'm a race baiter, are the ones that are racist themselves, and they deny the fact that sometimes, not all the time, sometimes black people are treated differently than white people in our society. But they completely deny that, and anybody that brings that up is all of a sudden a race baiter. That's another word for them saying I'm a racist, and I don't want to admit the fact that sometimes racism exists in society.
But Brian, let me chime in on this too, and Michael, hey, let me chime in on this too, as well too, Edward. Look, there's crimes, and then there's hate crimes. Okay, not all crimes are hate crimes. A hate crime is what Brian just described at the beginning of this discussion, where he talked about something that can be absolutely distinguished as a hate crime. The situation that is real, that actually happened here in Las Vegas, has not been deemed a hate crime, okay? There has not been any evidence that's been established that that is actually a hate crime.
Correct.
There are a difference between the two.
Yeah, correct. I actually agree with Chris Winn on this. It's a good start to a Monday. Yes. Edward, does that make any sense?
Blood pressure's going up. Everyone's blood pressure's going up. All right.
Edward,
well, let me ask you.
Yes, go ahead.
I got to ask you, would you consider yourself a racist, Brian?
Of course not.
Or prejudiced?
Absolutely.
Would you ever consider yourself racist or prejudiced?
And there are people out there. I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that because the caller, JD, who called in. Okay, hold on. JD also said that I hate all Republicans, or I put all Republicans in the same, which I don't.
That's not true.
And I never have.
No, that's not true.
All that
As a
guy does is
Republican, I don't believe that.
I have some.
As a Republican, I don't believe that.
Yeah, I know you don't, but this caller who calls into other shows bashing me, lies about me. First of all, I have Republicans who are good friends of mine. I believe the MAGA cult, I don't have a lot of respect for them, but there are good Republicans out there all the time. In fact, I've interviewed them on this show. Alan Bigelow is I don't always agree with him, but he's a nice man. Right? Guy Nora, I don't agree with him, but he's a nice man. Ron Futrell's a friend of mine. Now, he's a big MAGA Republican. I think his political views are crazy, but he's a good friend of mine. I know he's a nice guy. So to say that I bundle all Republicans into the same place that I would say a Jim Jordan or a Lauren Hobart or a Marjorie Taylor Greene, two-toe Marjorie Taylor Greene. No, of course I don't. Of course I don't.
Well,
Well, this is the reason I ask if you believe that you're prejudiced or racist anyway. Because I'm going to ask you in your history of your life, and everything, every word you said from goo goo gaga,
never
today. Have you ever? Let me ask you. Have you ever? I'm going to ask you. Have you ever said the N-word?
No.
Ever in your entire life?
No, I don't use that word. Absolutely not.
You've never said it one time.
No, and I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you something else. I don't like it when black people say it either. And I know that black people don't want to hear that from a white person.
Agree.
And I also understand it's very different when an African-American says it to another.
It's the same word.
Right.
It's the same word.
I agree. And I've told and one of my friends, Roxanne McCoy, who's the head of the NAACP, we agree on this. If you don't want anybody to use it, then you shouldn't use it yourself. It sets a bad example. Now, listen, they can say whatever they want, but it makes me uncomfortable. That word makes me very uncomfortable. When I hear it, it could be anywhere. It makes me uncomfortable. It's one of the worst words that anybody can say, and it's wrong. No, I will not use that word. I never will use that word because I wasn't raised I was raised to not say those types of things. There are other words that are hurtful to other people and other religions. I could think of some. And no, it's wrong across the board. Nobody should ever use that word, ever, under any circumstance.
And I'm asking, these people are going to ask this question.
Yep.
Like Eppley Bailey brought it up in the O.J. Simpson trial. Have you ever used the N-word to the cop? Remember the cop that was in hot water?
I remember. Yes, I remember that, and that was part of the main reason why OJ got off. Hey, I got to take a break. Edward, good questions. I appreciate you, my man. Thanks for calling in.
I got peace.
Thanks, Edward.
Thanks, Edward.
Yeah. So to JD the caller, I'm not a race baiter, and I think it's one of
you're an opinionated talk show.
That's my
host.
job. That's my job. So are you.
That's fine.
Yeah. So are you.
Yeah. I am.
I think,
absolutely.
For the record, though, I do think Chris is a race baiter.
Yeah. Tongue in cheek, folks. He's saying
I'm just trying to get.
He's tossing it out.
I'm just trying to get his blood pressure up.
He's trying to get me fired up. You're trying to get me to have my gauges go through the roof here.
Yes.
When I put this arm tourniquet on right here, that's about to take place.
Well,
we're about to do this, folks.
Yes.
We're about to get it on.
We are. Well, easy there, Tiger.
I'm not gonna
easy there, Tiger. Yeah, easy.
Minus the sexual connotation.
That's the only thing that might be able to lower your blood pressure. But anyway, we are going to do a live blood pressure. I can't even talk right now.
Talk about it.
A live blood pressure test on the air. His roommate Mark is going to be administering this test. It's going to be certified. Mark is a certified blood pressure tester.
Person?
I don't know if you knew that. He's very certified.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's certified.
I know you're very proud of your blood pressure tester status.
So we're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Winn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust and someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Winn today, and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The Klondike Casino is a friendly local spot that features their signature restaurant, the Klondike Grill, serving up fresh food fast. Open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner just off the 95 freeway on Sunset Road in Henderson. You will find the Klondike Casino, featuring all your favorite games from the Strip in the comfort of a neighborhood casino. You can place a bet at their full-service sportsbook, or start your day with a breakfast plate that comes with your choice of potato and toast. Or check us out for lunch or dinner and try one of our many sandwiches, like the popular beer-battered fish sandwich or the Philly cheesesteak. Check out the full menu at KlondikeSunset.com.
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive stomach? Hi, it's Kelly the Cookie Lady from Mooch's Munchies. Our dogs had super sensitive tummies, and I needed to find a low-fat treat that wouldn't give them gas or other issues. Most of the treats on the market were loaded with fillers, chemicals, and chicken fat. Many of them weren't even food. Well, I knew I could do better, so I developed Mooch's Munchies, and I'm happy to be able to share them with you. Stop by our store or our website, moochesmunchies.com, and find out why we say that Mooch's Munchies are totally pawsome.
Welcome to Hash House A Go-Go, where we've been serving farm food and crafted cocktails for over 2 decades. Visit us for the full Hash House experience at any of our 5 Las Vegas locations. Hash House A Go-Go is where old school meets new and gets twisted. We bring people together over good food and fun. Come in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and come hungry because our portions are huge. Visit us online to see our entire menu at hashhouseagogo.com. Hash House A Go-Go. It's a Midwest thing, and there's nothing else like it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We got Chris Winn in the studio. Hey, here's a treat. Jalen Dixon, really good defensive player for UNLV football. He's going to be joining us at the top of the hour. He had one of 4 UNLV sacks on Saturday and a win on the road against UTEP. He's going to be joining us live coming up at the top of the hour. Talk about the nice win. I'm excited for UNLV football. They're off to a great start. I think if you looked at their first 4 games and you said they're going to start 3-1, you're definitely not beating Michigan on the road. But a nice win against Vandy. I know Vandy's not very good, but it's still a nice win for them. And to start the season 3-1, hey, that's big for UNLV. Their next game, by the way, is at home against Hawaii on Saturday. You hope the fans show up for that. And Odom's doing a nice job. And again, I'm not surprised. We'll get more into that a little bit later. But happy that Jalen Dixon is going to be joining us at the top of the hour. That is going to be a lot of fun. So we took a few calls at the beginning of the show. I feel like before we do the blood pressure test, I always like to get my MAGA callers, and this might get Chris Winn going. So before
it might get me going.
Yeah, this might get him going. So I like my MAGA callers. I always enjoy it when they call in. And before we get to the blood pressure test, maybe this will rise our blood pressure once a bit. MAGA Patrick, is it okay if I call you that? Do you mind? That's not an insult, right? Patrick?
Coming from you, Brian, I take it as a compliment, man.
Okay, good. So you're not offended by that. Okay, MAGA Patrick, what's on your mind, sir? Thanks for calling in. And always a pleasure having you on, by the way.
Oh, I appreciate you, Brian. Last week we talked a little bit about Poland suspending the arms that they were sending to Ukraine. Probably many different reasons on why they're doing that, but CBS did do a report from people on the ground talking about that only 30% of the military weapons sent to Ukraine were making it to the front lines where they were supposed to be. So that may be a part of it. But this last weekend, a slap in the face to Poland, we had Zelensky and Trudeau honoring a former SS Nazi who was from Ukraine
and this guy's unit was single-handedly responsible for killing 500 to 1,000 Polish Jews in Western Ukraine.
Let's go there. Let's go there. Let's talk about that for a second, since you're on the topic of. Hold on. You got to let me. You got to let me respond.
It's kind of hard to deny that there's Nazis in Ukraine.
Patrick. So you don't like people. Okay, so let's go on that note. You don't like it when people honor people that are responsible for killing a lot of people or say nice things about people. Like I think that's a pretty reasonable thing. I don't need a long answer, just a yes or no. You don't like it in general terms when people do nice things for people or treat people nice that are responsible for killing a lot of people. Is that a fair assessment?
We just honored a Nazi.
Okay, so can't you just say yes or no? Can you say yes or no? So I can make a point here. I'll ask it again. In general, you can make this as your point. You don't like it when people are nice to other people or honor other people that are responsible for killing a lot of people, right? Yes or no?
I think it's a tragedy.
All right, you're not going to answer.
He doesn't want to answer the question.
All right, pot him down. The reason why I say
and you know what directions Brian is going.
Donald Trump.
You know where he's going.
Donald Trump has written love letters to Kim Jong-un, a man who's responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of people. As far as Vladimir Putin goes, Donald Trump has been praising him for years. He called him brilliant, smart, and so on and so forth. So don't you come at me with your, we got this Nazi, and Zelensky honored him, when you support Donald Trump, who writes love letters to evil, murderous dictators. So don't you give me that nonsense, you hypocrite.
Okay, but we all agree that there's Nazis in Ukraine.
There's Nazis all over the world. There are anti-Semites all over the world. What the hell is your point? You always bring this up on the show like there's only Nazis in the Ukraine. What the hell are you talking about?
There's symbolism. There's outfits there.
You want to talk about symbolism? You want to talk about symbolism? What about the guy that you voted for that defends the Confederate flag? You want to talk about symbolism?
There's nothing racist. There's nothing wrong with the Confederate flag.
Okay, well, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked that somebody like you defends the Confederate flag also. You're a racist. Why don't you admit it?
Hey, but I want y'all not to worry, because if the government does shut down, we're going to continue to fund the pension funds of Ukraine. We're going to
Yeah. There you go again. Why don't you admit it? You're rooting for Vladimir Putin. I want you to admit it. You're rooting for Russia to win this war. Admit it. You're rooting for Vladimir Putin to win.
I don't have a side, but
You don't have a side. Get this guy off the show.
All right, Ty, I got to chime in.
He doesn't have a side.
By the way, this was thought to be maybe it's going to raise Chris Wynn's blood pressure. These phone calls.
Can I say
that
one
just
more thing?
absolutely puts
Chris,
Brian.
one more thing.
Oh yeah,
one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then
it's
take
your
the
show.
floor.
Yeah, go ahead.
This guy, Vladimir Putin, invaded a country.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
An evil, murderous dictator invaded a country, and this buffoon has the gall to say, I'm not taking a side. If I brought off Adolf Hitler, since he wants to bring up Nazis who murdered 7 million Jews, would he also answer that by saying, I don't take a side? I'm going to give you a chance to defend yourself. I think it's indefensible. You're telling me when it comes to Vladimir Putin and Russia and Zelensky and Ukraine, you're not rooting for either side and you don't want to take a side? I'm giving you a chance to retract your idiotic statement, Patrick.
I'm against war. I've always been against war.
I didn't ask you if you were against. Pot him down again. I didn't ask you if you were against war. All reasonable people.
What side are you on, bro? In this conflict, Ukraine or Russia?
Who do you want to see to win this war? I'm going to ask you one more time and answer the question directly. Yeah. And I don't want to hear, I don't have a side. Are you rooting for Vladimir Putin and Russia to win, or are you rooting for Ukraine? Answer the question.
I'm voting for and I'm rooting for peace and not for all the Ukrainians to die and have ethnic cleansing to where there are no more Ukrainians left. That would be a tragedy.
So you're rooting for Ukraine. You're telling us you're rooting for Ukraine. Rooting's a bad word. You're on the side of Ukraine, right? Because, Patrick, let me fill you in. So now I'm going to jump in. Okay? Because this isn't just no, shut up and listen. And Brian, you too. Here's the deal. All right? Here's the deal. Patrick, here's the deal. It's not just left-wing, lefty loonies that are on the side of Ukraine. You saw the debate a month ago between Republicans. What was the number of Republicans on that stage that were on the side of Joe Biden, who's the president of the United States, and the United States when it comes to the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. There was Vivek Ramaswamy, who's one guy, and I think there's one other person, if I'm not mistaken, that did not immediately say that we are on the side of Ukraine in this conflict.
Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy. Everybody else on that stage, Patrick, who align with you politically, who are on the right, were on board with the United States position on Ukraine. What do you mean, whoa? No. What I just said's factually accurate. So the idea that you're going to be in any camp with Vladimir Putin or Russia in this conflict between Ukraine, and by the way, don't give me you gave us a half-assed answer. You wanted to toe the line, okay? And you wanted to toe the line and be like, oh, I'm for not having war and I'm for not having Ukrainian people suffer or die. Let me tell you something, all right? You're for Ukraine. You're rooting for. You're on the side of. You are on Ukraine's side. Okay. All right.
Patrick,
Period. Full stop.
Patrick, go ahead. We'll let you respond. Go ahead, Patrick.
I mean, it's ridiculous, man.
Thank you.
Own your stuff. I would say another word, but I already said another word that I can't say. Own your stuff, man.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting that you guys are advocating for a foreign policy of Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell and these guys that haven't made a good foreign policy decision.
I didn't bring up Lindsey Graham at all. I'm advocating for the policy that we're actually taking. It's actual policy we're taking right now.
Let me speak.
No, because you're saying dumb things and things that are not accurate. No, you're saying things that aren't true. I'm not advocating for Lindsey Graham.
Hey, last week you were advocating for the Iraq War, and it was a good thing that Saddam Hussein.
Patrick, we got to go now.
Turn on. I never even advocated for anything with respect to the Iraq War at all.
Patrick,
so what is he talking about?
The conversation ends when you say something, and we've talked about
saying things that aren't true, man.
Okay,
all right.
I never advocated for the Iraq War. Neither did Chris. So what you're lying, and when you lie on this show is when I disconnect you. All right, we got to move on.
You are a moron, right? You have no idea what you're talking about, and you don't have any background in this topic whatsoever.
You could play that, but you could play that clip numerous times on this show. By the way, when you have people that say preposterous, nonsensical things on the show.
With that being said, it
happens all the time.
We got to get going here. So what I want to do, because we have a guest at the top of the hour, is your roommate Mark has joined us.
By the way, Mark Nilsson, he is one of the premier mixologists here in Las Vegas.
What we want,
joining us on the show. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the show before.
And
right,
what
Mark?
we want to do, the reason why we have Mark here, Mark, thank you for being here, is because Chris yells at you, and this is a question for Mark, not Chris. How many times a day do you think Chris raises his voice? Do you speak right into the microphone?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Multiple times? Okay.
Yes.
So we decided.
We've established this already. Yeah,
so we know this. So we want to do a live blood pressure test on air right now. So go ahead and get that apparatus.
Okay,
put it on his arm. By the way, Patrick, thank you so much because you definitely raised both of our blood pressures. So that was perfect timing.
Basically yours, though. He raised yours more
Patrick,
than mine.
I'll be in studio alone tomorrow, so you can call me tomorrow. Maybe you'll get more than 3 words in edgewise with Chris. But go ahead.
Okay, I'm an official Amazon
Tell me
doctor.
what you're doing right now. You're putting this on his arm.
Yeah, exactly.
Blood pressure test to see when.
We're doing this live on the air, so...
We're doing it live.
We'll do it live!
Oh, jeez. Oh, boy.
That's our Bill O'Reilly imitation. That was not so good.
For the record, I will say Mark is not...
Hey, by the way, there's already lines being put out on the feed here.
I'm going to say
our friend of the show, Matt Visca, puts it at 139/89.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of a... So Brian Shapiro and Mark Nilsson, what would be your assessment? What would be your assessment of that line being put at 1...
I think you're
139/89.
Your blood pressure's high because you're so high strong. All right, so Mark, tell us what you're doing right now.
Okay, we're put the cuff on Chris Winn right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to hit the official
Chris,
Amazon
don't talk.
button.
I know it's hard for you. Don't talk when the...
And it plays a little fun music.
It plays music while it's checking your blood pressure.
I'm going to try to use... It does. It plays that elevator music.
You don't
awesome.
talk. You get your blood pressure done. Be quiet. There you go. Calming music.
Very calming.
I'm going to say Chris has very high blood pressure. Mark, what do you say?
I'm going to say 158-ish plus.
I'm going to go higher than that.
Oof.
Yeah,
I was fired up.
I think his blood pressure
Patrick
through the roof, man.
Get him going.
Well, he got me going too, but I think my blood pressure is going to be okay. But again, Numchuck, what do you say? Give us your opinion. What do you think his blood pressure is going to be?
168/80.
Chris, don't talk. You're not allowed to talk. We want this to be done fairly. This isn't a rigged, like the Donald Trump would say, this isn't rigged. We're not rigging the blood pressure machine. There's no Dominion stuff in that.
I'm liking Nunchucks.
This is not a Dominion blood pressure.
159.
Ooh, that's not good.
Wow. 104.
That's not good. That's not
104 is high, right?
Yeah,
that's not good. Right?
The 159.
Okay, so I'm going to go
Wow,
online
Mark,
and
you
check out
nailed it.
exactly what I need to do here. It might tell me that I need to get on statins
So here's what I want you to do, Mark. I want you to look that up on your phone. What is maybe Numchuck could look that up.
Yeah, look it up.
159 over 104.
What's the diagnosis
I'm
for
pretty
that?
sure that's not good. And while they're doing that, Mark is now going to administer a blood pressure test on myself.
Oh, now you're going to do it for Shapiro.
Yeah,
Here we
yeah.
go.
I want to be
All
fair.
right.
Numchuck, 159 over 104. What does that mean?
Stage 2 high blood pressure. It's 140 over 90.
Oh, so you're past stage 2. You're heading.
If you get a blood pressure, if you get a blood pressure reading of 180 over 110 or higher, seek medical treatment right away.
Oh my God!
Right away. Oh my God!
I need to take you to Sahara West Urgent Primary Care. This is not funny.
That is not funny.
You're
I need
a
to
walking heart attack.
Oh, so I gotta get some things done here. I gotta do
Holy
some things.
smokes! You're 159 over 1. I'm shocked because you
That's
seem
crazy.
like such a calm person.
I am.
Yeah. All right. I need to be quiet now for the first time in PTL history. So, Chris, you need to take over the show.
So now we're gonna administer it with Brian Shapiro. Now, Brian, look, different body type than myself. Winn.
That's for sure.
Right. So he's more of kind of like a skinny, one of those skinny potbelly guys, right? Not really a big potbelly, but he's got because he doesn't drink beer. He's not an alcohol guy, so he doesn't engage in that. But he is but Brian, he is, and he can't talk right now. But Numchuck and Mark Nilsson, he is a guy who is we would probably call him high strung, right? You describe him as high strung, wouldn't you?
At points.
Numchuck?
At very high point, yeah.
Because he'll get amped up about certain things. So even though he is listening to this very mellow music, and it's probably going to put him in a certain state of mind, I would expect I don't know, but blood pressure's a weird thing, right? So he might be normal. He might be normal. What do we got? So Mark, talking to the microphone. Tell us what you got.
We
so
have
we
have a 146 over 87.
That's not horrible.
Patrick definitely fired him up.
He got you amped
Got me
up.
fired up.
So
for the record, I got my blood pressure taken yesterday. It was extremely normal.
So Numchuck, what's 146 over 87 when you jump on the World Wide Web? As far as
better than yours, I know.
As far as blood
It is
pressure,
between stage 1 and stage 2 high blood
so
pressure.
I'm not in any big trouble.
Okay, so you're not.
I'm okay. And by the way, that's about as high as it'll ever be because I did check my blood pressure at Mark's place and it was normal. Yeah,
It was
very normal.
130 over 88.
Yeah. Patrick got me fired up, man. He got me fired up. Well, Chris, you need to get some help.
I need to address this. I need to lose some weight, guys. I think that's evidently clear. I got to lose weight.
Here's the first.
I got to start being more active.
Here's what I would do. Number
I need
one.
to start changing my
I'll
diet.
give you some advice.
Give me some advice, Dr. Shapiro.
I'm
Dr. Shapiro, what should I do?
I'm going to give you some
to pump this down.
I'm going to give you some heartfelt advice if
Okay,
you're
what do you
capable
need?
of listening to me. And I'm going to be very serious because when I do my deep, slow voice, it means I'm.
It means you're being introspective and you're starting to think about
what are the
serious
odds he'll
things.
be quiet for 20 seconds?
Under, no matter what.
Okay. First thing you need to do is get a massage. It could be Spring Mountain, it could be Summerlin, wherever you'd like. I prefer Spring Mountain. Get a massage there, okay? And then after the massage,
No insinuation there at all.
And then after the massage, you're going to eat a salad for the first time in your life. And then you're going to take a.
I had salad last night. You saw me eat salad at the Aces game. I powered down a half a salad.
You're right. You eat very healthy. The nachos and the cheese and the beer and everything and the hot dogs. Anyway, I'm trying.
First of all, it's
look at
Captain
me.
Morgan and Coke. Okay,
Will you,
it's
will
not
you pay
beer.
Attention? I'm being very serious now. I need you to pay attention. Pay attention, sir.
Okay.
I need you to stop yelling at your roommate every day.
I can't.
I need you to calm down.
You need me to stop yelling at you too, right? It's
Well,
not
that-
just my
well,
roommate,
that as well.
Mark Nilsson, who's
You
here in the
need-
studio.
You need
it's
to,
you as
now
well.
Listen, I
yell at you.
I yell on the air sometimes because it's fun. But in private,
why do you think I do it? You think I do it because I'm trying to make my health
not
bad?
Good for your health. You need to stop yelling at Mark. He's a nice man. He's very ill-informed sometimes when it comes to politics, but he's a nice man and he's a good cook. You need to stop yelling at him. You need to stop yelling at me. And if you disagree with somebody, I'm talking about off the air. On the air,
Right.
you have my permission to yell at people.
Mm-hmm.
Off the air, you need to take a couple deep breaths and then think about, think about something pleasant. Like, remember Happy Gilmore? Take you to your happy place, whatever that happy
That was
place.
a great freaking movie.
Right, it was.
That's my Rob Codry from Hot Tub Time Machine.
Think about your happy place. Now, we got to go to break, but will you take some of my advice?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I'll take it to heart.
All right, good. And by the way,
see how excited and energized I was right there to take care.
Now,
so this leads into this is why we are professionals in radio, right, Brian Shapiro?
You know what I'm doing, yeah. You know what I'm doing.
This leads into an outstanding,
one of our sponsors,
outstanding spot right here.
Yeah. We are
cap off hour one.
Chris, I'm going to recommend that Chris goes to Sahara West Urgent Primary Care, located at 6125 West Sahara Avenue, Suite 1B. No appointment needed. You can give them a call at 702-248-0554. You could also visit them online. I like the Happy Gilmore.
It is. There it is.
SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. Chris, I want you to go to your happy place. I think that would be endless beers and caveman keno, and perhaps hanging out with Ken Thompson. Like, I don't know what your happy place would be.
KT's awesome.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
And
that's your happy
But
place.
KT will get my blood pressure up too, talking
can.
politics.
Well, don't talk politics with him. But anyway, check out Sahara West Urgent Primary Care, where you might see Chris Winn there in the coming days. Check him out over there.
Apparently, I'm like, you remember that movie Tin Cup with Roy McAvoy?
Yeah, I do.
And the guy that was walking him on the course, he's carrying his bag.
By the way, Mark,
he's a wheezing walking. Apparently, I'm a wheezing walking heart attack waiting to happen.
You are. I hope
need
that
to fix.
doesn't happen.
need
I want
fix
to thank Mark for doing an excellent job, by the way.
Outstanding, Mr. Nielsen.
I would like him to stick around. He could share some sports opinions with us because he saw the Raiders games as we did. But coming up next, this is going to be a treat. Jalen Dixon's going to be joining us. Great player with UNLV and had a nice game, had a sack, one of 4 sacks against UTEP on the road. And UNLV football is now 3-1. Great start to the UNLV football season, and Jalen will be joining us next. We'll take a quick break as our blood pressures hopefully lower a little bit. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here at KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Welcome to Hash House A Go-Go, where we've been serving farm food and crafted cocktails for over 2 decades. Visit us for the full Hash House experience at any of our 5 Las Vegas locations. Hash House A Go-Go is where old school meets new and gets twisted. We bring people together over good food and fun. Come in for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and come hungry because our portions are huge. Visit us online to see our entire menu at hashhouseagogo.com. Hash House A Go-Go. It's a Midwest thing, and there's nothing else like it.
The German.
Is your dog suffering from a...
Here's to your health. Monday morning at 7 on KSHP, North Las Vegas, AM and FM, 829 6HP, North Las Vegas, and KSHP.com.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. The first time I had Coach Odom on this show, I liked it right from the beginning. Guy says all the right things. I love the fact that he's recruiting locally. I said, this is the right guy for the job at this time. And, of course, the win at home against Vandy was a nice win for any Mountain West Conference team, especially UNLV. And if you said the first 4 games you're going to be 3-1, I think anybody would take that. That's a great start to the season. They just beat UTEP on the road. And the guy we have this on the line right now had a pretty good game of his own. He had 1 sack of the 4 they had against UTEP. Jalen Dixon joining us right now on the line. Jalen, thank you so much.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good, Jalen. First of all, congratulations on the win over the weekend. I would imagine it must feel pretty good coming home and getting that W on the road against UTEP.
Yes, sir. It feels great, and it was a great little away win. And we haven't won a road game in a long time, so I feel like it was great motivation and to keep pushing this season.
Jalen, what's the difference with this team this year as opposed to last year? Like, just I would imagine there's a lot of differences. You have a new coaching staff, you have a different play calling and a different scheme defensively. But what are the big differences in your eyes with the team this year as opposed to maybe at this time last year?
I feel like we wanted more. We came with 5 wins last year, close to a bowl game. And then a new coaching staff coming in and firing up as well. So at the end of the day, winning is the key, and that's what we want to do. And we want to be a successful program out here in Las Vegas.
Absolutely, and you're certainly off to a wonderful start this year at 3-1. What do you make of your QB and the way he's played the last 2 days after your starter went down? This kid out of Liberty High School really has impressed a lot of people, and he's come in and done the job. What would you say about him?
Jaden, he's a great quarterback. Him just playing behind Doug, learning from Doug is just great. He's as freshman too as well. So I've seen it since spring ball. He's a great quarterback, great accuracy, and he'll stay in that pocket. And the good thing about him is when he's scrambling, he's looking down the field to pass the ball too as well. So that's another key thing for a freshman too.
And Jalen, it's a great bonus, right? That you have those horses in the backfield, baby, right? When you got Jet going off in that game, setting the record with the 4 touchdowns. You got Vince as well as Courtney, and also in that backfield. It's a great thing to have, right? When you have that type of talent in your backfield to help out a young quarterback like that.
Yes. Fresh legs is key. All those backs are hard to tackle. And we've been going against them since spring ball, fall camp, and I'm glad they get to showcase their talents to the world.
And now, Jalen, you have what I would consider a very winnable game. Never an easy win, no matter who you're playing in the Mountain West Conference. But now you have Hawaii at home. Every game is obviously huge, right? But this is an opportunity now to go 4-1. I can't remember the last time UNLV football started a year, with such. I guess. Listen, you guys had a good start to the year last year. There's no question about that. I don't want to take anything away from you from last year, but I just feel like the fans, even the media, a lot of people have a different vibe about this team. It's almost like you guys are expected now to make a bowl game with what you've done so far. And I don't know if that's fair. Do you think that's fair?
No, I think it's fair. It's time this town gets to a bowl game. We haven't been in a bowl game in a long time. And I feel like with this coaching staff and the new players we recruited, it's time to showcase and it's time to turn this into a football town.
It's one thing, right, when you get a chance to play these early season games where a lot of times it's obviously it's out of conference, right? You got a chance to go to the big house in Ann Arbor. You're playing teams that are not necessarily here. But Jay, talk about now it's kind of like the rubber meets the road, right? I'm sure when you guys are out there on the practice field during the week, this is the start of the Mountain West Conference season, right? And does that change things a little bit as far as like your perspectives as you go into this matchup against Hawaii coming up on Saturday?
Honestly, it doesn't, because we take every team the same way. We try to prepare for the team. We try to prepare for the team the same way we have for Michigan and any team. So at the end of the day, we can't take any team lightly because they're gonna come and punch us in the mouth. So at the end of the day, we need to come and be ready, and let's go on this run.
Yeah. And if you're just joining us, we're with Jalen Dixon. He had 5 tackles. He had 1 big sack. And really a huge game for UNLV to be able to win this game on the road. I'm sorry, 2 tackles. It's a big deal to start off the season 3-1, of course. But now moving forward, I'm just curious. Coach Odom, he seems to me, at least in front of the media, very modest guy, very humble, seems like a player's coach. What is he like behind the scenes? What is he like for people that are unable to go to practices or see what he's like in the locker room? Jalen, can you explain what Coach Odom is like and the relationship that you have with him personally?
Man, Coach O, he's a great coach. Family man, makes you feel like you at home. That's the type of coach we getting out of Coach Odom. And I mean, it's a great hire. Coach Odom, he has that winning mentality that we need. And at the end of the day, we need a coach that's gonna sit there and hype us up before the game. And Coach O is the perfect man to do that. So at the end of the day, Coach O is the perfect fit for UNLV, in my opinion.
By the way, I completely 100% agree with you. And I haven't always said that about some coaches in the past. I said that from day one. I said, I feel like this is the right guy for this job. He's the perfect guy for this job, Jalen. I could not agree with you more. How nice is it to be in a game after that Vandy game, which was back and forth, back and forth? Our blood pressures were high in that game. That was a nerve-wracking game. It was entertaining, and I'm glad you guys won. But how nice was it to win a game on the road against UTEP, knowing that in the final few minutes, you're going to get the W? I mean, that had to feel really good even before the final seconds clicked off.
It felt great. The atmosphere out there, it was good. And at the time, there was times where the fans was getting hyped. Well, we had to make a play and quiet them down. So at the end of the day, winning on the road earlier in the season is great because it just gives us more motivation and more fights to win on the road later on in the season.
How is Doug doing? How is his injury? Have you guys had any updates, and how is he feeling?
As I've seen, Doug, he's still going through it, but he's going to get back to healthy Doug. So at the end of the day, he's out there at practice. So yeah.
When an injury happens like that to your starting quarterback, obviously, as someone who played football at the college level and high school level, like, does it naturally shift to you guys? I guess the question I'm getting at is, did you guys feel like, okay, this is some pressure on our defense, and yourself, along with Jonathan, who had a big game, by the way, on Saturday too as well, and you had Jackson, you had Jack squared, with both putting up 7 tackles in that game, as well as Marcel having a big game as well too. But do you guys put more pressure on yourselves as defensive players when you see your starting quarterback have an injury like that, and understand that throughout the rest of the season, look, our defense is going to have to step up?
At the end of the day, it's next man up. So whatever man they put in, is defense is fine with it, honestly, because we've been together spring ball, fall camp. They've been taking reps all day. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's next man up mentality, and let's go.
So Jaden and Doug are both listed as starters. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And listen, we'll have to wait and see. I have no doubt that Coach Odom will make the right decision moving forward. I have absolutely no doubt about that. Moving forward now, you play Hawaii. Talk to me a little bit. I know it's early. It's only Monday. You know what it takes to beat a team like Hawaii. What are you expecting from this team, Jalen, when it comes this weekend?
I'm expecting to come out hard. I mean, at the end of the day, we're playing for the Pineapple, so it's the 9th Island Showdown. So they're coming here with a chip on their shoulder. They just won, beat New Mexico State, so they're coming off winning vibes. So they're gonna come down here juiced and ready to go. We just gotta be ready to fight. It's gonna be a dog fight.
Oh, here's a side question I want to ask you. You guys used to have those slot machines on the sideline. I know that they are not there anymore. Can you tell us why Coach Odom decided to? I would imagine it was his decision. What happened to the slot machine? I had to ask.
I have no idea, honestly. I don't know. I guess when he got here, I guess he's gone. So I mean, hey.
Well, it was a cool little trinket, right? But that thing was. I did notice that too. And the season opener against Bryan, I was like, wait a minute, because obviously there were touchdowns across the board for UNLV in that game, and there wasn't any mass exodus over to the slot machine after TD.
So Jalen, I wanted to ask you this. We hear the term identity a lot, and I'll be honest with you. In all due respect to Coach Arroyo, nice guy, I didn't know what the identity of this team was for the past several years. I kind of feel like I know what the identity of the team is now, but I want to hear that from you, Jalen. What do you think the identity is of this UNLV football team this year under Coach Odom?
The identity, I feel like we're going to come out here and we're going to play all 4 quarters. We're going to play good on 3 phases of ball: offense, defense, and special teams. As you see, special teams is a key this year. We've been going like Coach Sheebish. He is the real deal. So at the end of the day, having a special teams coordinator like that, and then being great on defense and offense, It's just the identity. We're gonna come and we're gonna punch you in the mouth for four quarters, and we're gonna win.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And you guys I believe you guys forced 3 turnovers over the weekend as well, which is huge. I mean, that's a big part of a football game, the turnover battle. You guys only had 1, so that is certainly a big deal. I did notice at the Vandy game, and I think you noticed this too, and I heard Coach talk about this, is the fans that were there were loud, rambunctious, and it was just a fun atmosphere. I would imagine, and I would hope, and I know that there'll be even more fans that show up on Saturday. What would you say about the fan support and just in general playing at Allegiant Stadium?
Oh man, it's great, especially having the fans out. The fans don't realize how much we really need them for real. Like the fans, we feed off the fans, and when they're there and they're loud, we feed on that, and it just gives us that home advantage. So we need that.
Is it difficult to not look ahead? I'm sure Coach Odom has talked to you guys about this, but you get off to this nice start, 3-1. You guys had a nice start last year, but I understand this is a different team and a different mentality, and I get that. Is it hard not to look too much ahead and say, oh, man, we got to get that 6th win. Oh, man, we got to get to a bowl game? Or is it just the mentality of game by game? How do you guys, go into that?
It's more the mentality game by game, because if you look far ahead, you're not looking at the team in front of you. So right now we're going one game at a time, focus on one team each week at a time, and put our sole focus on one team so we can be great on and off the field.
And it's interesting, too, that Brian brings up looking ahead, right? Because you're talking about not only this matchup against Hawaii, but because the way the schedule is this year, which is kind of strange, to be honest with you, why you guys aren't playing Nevada at the end of the year, right? The last game of the year. It seems like you want to have. Instead, it's a matchup after this Hawaii game. Right. You're playing your in-state rival, right? So that I think maybe, and I guess I'm not asking the same question that Brian did, but doesn't that seem a little bit strange that you're going to have that big time matchup coming up next week, sir?
I mean, yeah, it is strange, but at any time we got to be ready for it. We got to be ready for it, because they're gonna come down and they're gonna play just as hard as we want that. So at the end of the day, we got to be ready for it.
No doubt. Well, Jalen, congratulations on the win. You're having a great year, and it's fun to watch this team play. It's a good product. It's exciting, and we want to get as many people out there as possible on Saturday. We'll all be out there, and you're doing a great job, my friend. We'd love to have you on again, and hopefully maybe we can talk again after a nice win against Hawaii. Let's hope that happens. Jalen Dixon, I appreciate your time. Keep up the great work, my friend. You guys are doing a great job. We all support you. Keep it up.
Have a good week, Jalen.
Thank you. You guys have a nice day.
Thank you, Jalen. Appreciate that. That's Jalen Dixon, everybody. Yeah. He had 1 of 4 sacks the game over the weekend at UTEP. Good player. Good player. I wouldn't want to be playing against him. I wouldn't want to be the QB playing against him. I'll tell you that. And he's very quick, very athletic. And look, and we'll talk about this, Chris, and I want to get your thoughts on this, but this is kind of in this town what frustrates me, among a lot of other things, but raise my blood pressure. Speaking of blood pressure, Chris, me well enough to know that I'm an opinionated guy, but I'd like to think that I'm fair. And when you are deserving, I at least in my opinion, I talk about that. And when there's criticism to be had, we're going to get into Josh McDaniels a little bit later on in the show.
Right.
I haven't liked some of the UNLV football coaches in the past. And I'm not even talking about personally. I was not a Coach Arroyo guy. I didn't think he was great with the media. I think he had sort of a I'm better than you mentality at times. I think like he just pranced around like he was the head
There was
coach
an essence in his vibe that he was above the job at UNLV.
I liked Bobby Houck. He had
I'm talking about Marcus Arroyo.
I understand. Yeah. I liked Bobby Houck. Had a good year and then had a bad year the following year and got us to a bowl game. Us. Maybe I shouldn't speak like that, but Sanford did not do well here. Bobby Houck, I love as a person, Sanford. But when it comes to Odom, from day one, and when I say day one, when I saw his press conference,
right,
and I saw the way he was answering questions, and I saw the way he spoke to the media, and he wasn't making excuses. I said to myself, man, I really like the way this guy is answering these questions, and I had a really good feel. And then when I learned in the days after, he was going to all these local high schools and recruiting right away. He went to and when he came on the show, he said he had been to over 20 schools in the first week he was hired here, local schools.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's something Coach Arroyo has never done. And I said to myself, my opinion, and we'll have to wait and see, just what Jalen Dixon said, he's the right guy for the job. He is. And I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And I know some people will say, Brian, it's only 4 games into his tenure. Let's wait and see. And that's a valid point.
Is this about to be hot take territory right here?
But
I think it could be.
it's not a hot take.
No, I'm saying what you're about to say.
I share my opinions on coaches very early in their tenure. Yeah. I said and I'm going to go to basketball, when Lon Kruger, when Jim Livengood, who I like him, Jim's a really nice guy. He's done the show plenty of times. When they didn't pay Lon Kruger and he left, I said it's going to set the basketball program back 10 years. Guess what? I was right. When they hired Dave Rice, super nice guy. Yeah. Never said anything. Dave Rice is the nicest guy in the world. Yeah. Good assistant coach, good recruiter. He came in studio here a few months ago. I didn't think it was a good hire. Never been a head coach before. Didn't think it was a good hire. That's not the only reason. It didn't work out. Marvin Menzies was an atrocious hire. I said that right off the bat. You have all this success at New Mexico State. Who cares? This is a different atmosphere. I was right about Marvin Menzies. I said with TJ Otzelberger, he was not the right guy for the job because I didn't feel like he wanted to be here. He leaves 2 years later. Desiree Reed-Francois, not a good athletic director. The Joker, as I like to call her. This athletic director knows what he's doing. I like him, and I really liked him when he got rid of Arroyo. I said that was a ballsy decision, but it was the right decision. This guy knows what he is doing. This was a good hire. Now, if you want to go to basketball, Kevin Kruger is in year 3. I like Kevin Kruger. I love the Kruger family. They are the nicest people in the world. Kevin's done a really good job recruiting in the offseason. His best job recruiting since he got here. Now's the time where you got to win. I'm not saying he has to win the Mountain West Conference. I'm not saying he has to make the NCAA tournament, but you have to compete for a Mountain West Conference title.
Absolutely.
What I mean by compete, Chris, is top 3.
Right.
You have to be in that conversation the first week of March. If he doesn't have that kind of year, then Harper is going to have a decision to make. I'm not going to say whether I think he should let him go or not right now. It depends on what happens. But I think we all agree Kevin Kruger has to have a really good year this year, and he has to compete for a title. Going back to Odom, and then I'll shut up and I'll let you take over. Odom, as I said, he's the right guy for the job. The first thing he does is he thanks the media for their coverage, something Arroyo, in my opinion, never did. At least I didn't see it. He's a selfless guy. He's a player's coach. He also doesn't make excuses, and he said it, I don't know how many times since he's been here already. I'm going to be judged on my wins and losses. Yeah, we can talk about academics. We can talk about recruiting, but the fans are going to show up, and we are judged by the way we play in our wins and losses, and I love that. I love that in a coach that gets here in year 1. He doesn't make excuses. Bottom line is they're 3-1. It's the best record you could have ever asked them to have this much into the season. They were never winning that Michigan game, and a lot of people thought they were going to lose the Vandy game. They're off to a great start, 3-1. I think they're a better team than Hawaii. Yes, I think they're a decent football team, and I think they are a better football team than Hawaii coming in here, and I think they beat Hawaii this weekend, and they're going to be favored to beat Hawaii. So those are my thoughts on UNLV football. I'm really happy for the team. I like Coach Odom a lot. Good kids on this team. We just had Jalen Dixon that play hard, and there's a different culture around UNLV football now. And I put that a lot on not only the players but the coaching staff.
Yeah, I'm picking up a lot of what you're putting down, Brian. I'll respond to and with my thoughts when it comes to UNLV Rebel football to you, Brian, as well as Mark Numchuck and PTL Nation. Here's the deal. All right, I'll use 2 phrases. I'm still in a wait and see mode a little bit when it comes to this football team, and also with respect to Barry Odom and UNLV overall, I say also that it's still yet to be established as far as this goes because they have yet to play a conference game. So that's kind of the view I take. Look, you can have a perspective that this football team has done what they have been expected to do. And that after being able to come out of that Vanderbilt game with a win after being down 17-0 in that game and losing your starting quarterback, impressive as all get out. No question about it. Obviously, they were expected to beat Bryant in the home opener because they are a superior football team than Bryant is. They were expected to lose at Michigan. It's the number 2 team in the country. And quite frankly, it was surprising that they weren't beat worse in that game against the Wolverines because they are, in fact, the number 2 team in the country. Yep. Then you go on the road against a team that's not in your conference, that doesn't necessarily have an identity at all, in UTEP, the Miners, and you have a solid defensive performance against them, and you also have a solid rushing performance in which you have a record-breaking day for one of your running backs, and the running game essentially wins the game offensively for you.
Yeah.
Right? So we've seen what we've expected from this team. Okay? So that's kind of the view I take. Maybe that's kind of a wishy-washy, I'm trying to hedge my bets, stand on both sides of the fence type of deal, but that's kind of the way I look at this team.
And that's
yes,
fair.
I think they're a better football team than Hawaii. I think that they should beat Hawaii coming up this week. But when I say wait and see, what I'm talking about is we have covered this program for a long time. And it is a program that has wallowed in sub-mediocrity to just atrociousness for a long time. Has not been relevant in college football.
Yeah.
So people are hesitant. As someone who is a Detroit Lions fan in the NFL, you know what I'm talking about. It's being aware that your program, your franchise, your entity that you're a fan of has not been producing at a level that's expected or that should be.
But I also,
and so UNLV, quite frankly, has been that. So I'm not going to sit here and act like, it's this is a program that is going to, and this phrasing probably is wrong, is going to skyrocket to some type of relevance.
Yeah, I'm not saying that
in the Mountain West.
I'm not saying that.
But I am positive. I do have a positive outlook. I'm optimistic that this is a program going in the right direction, and I think Barry Odom is that guy to lead the program.
Yeah, I'm not saying that either, but obviously I think you'd agree with me if they make a bowl game, that's a big deal for the program. So especially,
absolutely.
Especially in the first year. How many coaches in year one? I could go to, if I'm not mistaken, the coach over there at Utah State made a bowl game in his first year a few years back. This is a big deal. So if he can make a bowl game, that's great. And I also preface it by also saying anybody that knows me knows I haven't said a lot of positive things about UNLV football in the last 20 years. I've said a lot of positive things about Odom and the football program this year, and there's reason for that. And I'm just giving you my opinion. So for you morons out there that think I'm anti-UNLV, which, by the way, I never have. I want UNLV to win. I want both programs to win. But for people out there that say I'm anti-UNLV, it's a joke. It's my job. To be honest and to be fair and to be opinionated. And obviously, if you listen to other radio stations talk UNLV football in this town, I don't think they're honest and fair. That's just my personal opinion. Speaking of being honest and fair, I wanted to get to Raider football, if I may, here real quickly. And then we're going to have Gully Scott Gulbranson joining us, Chris.
Right.
I'm just going to say this, because we're not going to break down the game now. I'm just going to give you my Josh McDaniels. Fire Josh McDaniels is trending on Twitter. I'm going to say things that that Raider fans do not want to hear. This team is not going to be a good team so long as Josh McDaniels is the head coach here. He's not going to be he's not going to get this team. And when I mean good team, I mean top 25% of teams, in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a good head football coach. He failed in Denver. Apparently, they're still failing in Denver, losing 70-20. So that even makes the Raider win look even worse. I told you Denver's a terrible team. They're not good. It's the only win that the Raiders have right now. The Raiders were embarrassed yesterday. Josh McDaniels is a bad head football coach. Garoppolo is an overrated quarterback. I've been saying that for a very, very long time. The reason why he's had so much success, one of the reasons, is because he's had the defense of the San Francisco 49ers, which was the best defense in the league, and the New England Patriots, which at the time was one of the best, if not the best.
It was the gold standard in the NFL.
Yeah. So he doesn't have that with the Raiders. The defense is below average. Okay, you let Pittsburgh scarf through you. Pittsburgh does not have a very good offense.
Scarf through? That's the first time I've heard that phrasing used to talk about.
Well, it's true. It was like it was a joke, and the decision. And we're going to get to this next segment, but I just wanted to give my general opinions, and then and I want to hear yours, and then we'll take a break. Josh McDaniels is not a good head football coach. I know your roommate is a lifelong New England Patriots fan, and I understand he was the offensive coordinator, but wait a second. You had somebody named Tom Brady as your QB and Bill Belichick as your head coach. That might have had something to do with their success. No, I'm not going to give Josh McDaniels credit for being the offensive coordinator when you have arguably the best, not arguably, the best QB in the history of the game and the best NFL head coach in the history of the game. That, to me, doesn't have a lot to do with Josh McDaniels. He failed in Denver. He's failing here. He's not going to succeed here. And it was a horrible hire by Mark Davis.
Mark Nilsson, is Brian Shapiro being too hard on your boy, Jimmy Garoppolo, as the quarterback here in Vegas? For what? It's been 3 games now. He's been the quarterback here. What's your take on Jimmy Garoppolo here in Vegas?
I think Brian Shapiro is just impossibly jealous of the sexiness of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Hey, this is a fair. We can go down this road, right, Brian? We can go down this road.
I gotta be honest with you. In all my
He is a smooth-looking cat. You do have to admit that.
I gotta be
Jimmy
honest with you. In all my opinions of sports and the Raiders,
is a PIMP.
never once did I ever think sexual. That's the first time that anyone's ever brought that to my attention. This says
wait a minute, time out. You don't think there's any credence that you're jealous a little bit of Jimmy G and his prowess when it comes to the fair sex?
That jawline.
He is a good-looking dude, man. And I'm saying this as a heterosexual male. Not that I'm trying to clarify that I'm heterosexual, all that I need to. But I'm saying
the blood pressure
is
is
a fair
going
point,
up.
Brian. Are you
No, I
jealous
don't
a little
think it's
bit
fair at all.
of the aura that is Jimmy G?
No, and here's
here
why.
in Vegas.
No, and here's why.
Why?
If they were 3-0 or 2-1, or if they end the season making the playoffs, I would give him nothing but accolades. This has nothing to do with his looks. It has to do with his performance. Can you look me in the eye right now and tell me that he played well yesterday? That he looked like even an above-average quarterback in the NFL? He sucked. Some of those throws were a joke. He's throwing the ball. What is he doing? 3 turnovers. Okay, I'll throw away that 3rd turnover. Okay, it was the end of the game. Those 2 picks that were 100% on him. They were terrible. He was terrible in this game. He had a couple good throws to Devontae Adams. The play calling sucked. Garoppolo looked terrible. He looked like crap. I almost swore on the air just now. You're telling me he looked good yesterday? He was terrible.
He's a beautiful man.
Oh, for crying
And I
out
know.
loud.
Look, we were going to dive deep, right? Because we have Gully coming on the
Yeah,
show,
yeah,
and we're going to actually break down. And by the way, I think you're laying this all at Jimmy G's feet. Bro.
No, I'm not.
Come
I'm
on,
laying it
man.
on Josh
There's a lot of,
McDaniels.
and we're about to get into with Scott Gulberson
not laying it on Garoppolo.
Yeah, you kind of are.
Josh
Because
McDaniels is
you
a
just
bad head football coach.
Shapiro, you just went on like a 5-6
He
minute
asked
rant
me about
all
Garoppolo.
about Jimmy G.
Josh McDaniels is a horrible
He's
head
not the
football
only
coach.
reason they lost this game.
Josh
man.
McDaniels needs to go.
We're about to talk to Gully about all the
right,
reasons
we
why
will.
the Raiders lost
All right,
this
we will,
game.
we
Okay,
will.
it's not just
We will.
yes. Did Jimmy G have a good game? Absolutely not. Okay.
Mark Davis
By the
is-
way, if you're a fantasy football guy, which you're not, Brian, right? You're not a Shap guy, but me and Nilsson are. Jimmy G did not have a horrible fantasy football game, so
I
it
don't
wasn't
care
so
about
that
fantasy.
thing. I get it.
I don't care.
But again,
care about your
and we're
fantasy.
gonna get into this with Scott. When we
33
talk
points
about
in fantasy.
when we get into the real details about this game, right, as to why they lost the game,
All right.
it's not all on Jimmy
Didn't say-
G.
I never said that.
There's a lot of other
Josh
pieces
Mc-
of this
Okay.
silver and black
Mark Davis.
Raider Nation
Okay,
that need to get
we're going
fixed.
to take a break. Mark Davis,
Okay.
nice guy, bad owner.
A bad NFL owner.
Okay,
Bad
NFL owner.
Terrible,
Great
terrible
defender.
haircut.
All right, I got to take a
He
break.
does have a bad haircut.
Mark Davis, bad owner. Josh McDaniels, terrible head coach.
Jimmy G, very beautiful human being, though,
Beautiful,
right?
sexy
Garoppolo,
Beautiful.
overrated quarterback who's had some of the best defense behind him in the league. Anyway, we'll take a break with the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell. We got goalie Scott Gobernson coming up next. I do want to say my good friend Blake Winn over at the Keller Williams Group. If you're thinking of buying or selling a hall, you got to give him a call at 702-540-3311. Also a charity poker tournament that we will be attending on Thursday, which starts at 4:30 at Arizona Charlie's on Decatur for the Ronald McDonald Fund. Please give Blake a call to get more information, 702-540-3311. We'll take a break. When we come back, it's Gully, Scott Gulbranson from the Silver and Black creator of the podcast, their co-creator. He's going to be joining us next. We'll see if he agrees or disagrees with me on Josh McDaniels. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here at KSHP.
Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Pillow.
What I'm saying.
Obviously, you don't have a My Pillow too. You don't, do you?
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits here. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at the Postal Annex. They have a notary signing agent on site daily, no appointment needed, and they offer a full scale of printing services from shipping labels to documents, business cards, banners, photos, and business signage. They're your passport service headquarters. They offer passport photos, and they can renew your adult passports. If you're traveling in a hurry, they can get those passports to you within 7 days or less. Mailbox rentals with a physical street address, and they also receive your packages from Amazon, UPS, FedEx, USPS, and more. Here's the best part. If you're a Pushing the Limits listener, they have an introductory rate of only $39 for a 3-month service. You can't beat it. Give them a call, 702-873-8005. Check them out at 6130 West Flamingo Road. It's the Postal Annex. Tell them I sent you.
Buying or selling a home is a huge life event that requires guidance from an expert in the industry and community. My name is Blake Winn. You may recognize my name as my grandfather was the best governor the state of Nevada has ever had. Growing up in Las Vegas, I've come to know this community intricately. Now, I am raising a family here as well, so I understand all the issues impacting our home and quality of life. As the top realtor for the #1 real estate team at Keller Williams, you can have confidence in my experience, knowledge, and track record. When it comes to buying, selling, or investing in real estate, choose a name you can trust, someone who understands the community you call home. Call Blake Winn today and experience the difference of a trusted expert. 702-540-3311.
Hey everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement, and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client, so please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Zen World Premium CBD offers full and broad spectrum CBD oil, extracts, and capsules which are designed to help you feel your best. Their products are sourced from the best organic hemp and natural ingredients on the market and are tested for quality, purity, and potency. They have a full range of items from health and wellness to beauty to pets. Call 725-205-9223. Visit online at zenworld.com or stop by their location at 9895 South Maryland Parkway and Silverado Ranch Parkway. Mention KSHP for 10% off in store or use code KSHP online for 15% off.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. If you missed the first 3 segments, you missed a lot. Of Chris Winn, he was 159 over 104.
Chuck made it abundantly clear that I need to seek immediate medical attention.
Yeah, not good. That's not good. We just had Jalen Dixon on from UNLV football, a junior who has had a nice career at UNLV. Nice win on the road. Well, I'll tell you a team that did not play very well yesterday, and I've been more critical of the Raiders in the last 24 hours or at least in the last, 15 hours than I have maybe since they got to Vegas. What an embarrassing performance. Garoppolo was awful. The play calling was terrible. The decision making was terrible. Stops when they needed to. And they lost to an average at best football team. I'm sorry, Pittsburgh's not a really good football team. They're average at best. The defense is pretty good, but that is not a good offensive team. They're not a team that's going to make the playoffs. They're not a very good football team. And I hate to say it, but they're better than the Raiders. Joining us right now on the line to see if he disagrees with me or anything. I want to get his thoughts on this. Of course, I'm talking about Scott Gully Gulbranson, the co-creator of the Silver and Black Today podcast. Always love having you on, Scott, as you know. Thanks so much for being here, my man. How are you?
I'm doing okay. What are you talking about? Everything's fine over on Raiders Way in Henderson. Come on, man. I mean, this is just growing pains.
Right? It's all solid, my friend. Of course.
I mean,
well, Scott, if you listen to some,
do I have to? Does Josh McDaniels have to pull a Dion on you and say you didn't believe? Come on.
That is also another fair point,
Scott.
Brian Shapiro, maybe.
You know more than anybody that what's trending, and I don't pay attention to what a lot of fans say, but trending on Twitter all day today is fire Josh McDaniels. We've talked about this. It's not going to happen this year, but what do you make of his decision making, particularly at the end of the game when they had a 4th and 4 and didn't go for it. He kicks a field goal, and then in the press, well, we had multiple possessions. He said in a press conference later, which was weird. I mean, I get what you're trying to do, right? Get the ball back, hopefully, and then if you score a touchdown, you don't have to worry about a 2-point conversion. But I'm sorry, that in any situation, most coaches would not kick a field goal there. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. And the whole idea that you need 2 possessions, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because I mean, as much as I love UNLV because I went there, I went to UNLV, so I'm not really good in math. And here's the deal. You are 8 points down. If you score that, what happens? The game is tied, correct? And you can't lose a game if you're tied?
Down and you get the 2-point conversion. So what he said, Gully, and you're alluding to this, right, is factually inaccurate. You, in fact, need just 1 possession. If you would have went for it on that 4th down and got the 2-point conversion, the game would have been tied. So it just what he said is just not accurate.
Yeah.
So Gully, and look, I know I'm kind of interjecting here, Gully and Brian, but let me jump in. Like, he's talking about it like that was the reason why he made that decision, but that wasn't the reason he made the decision. He made the decision because he was thinking, okay, we're gonna rely on our defense, right, to get a 3 and out, and then we're gonna get the ball back, and it's going to look like we needed the 2 possessions to get the win.
And not only that, but you know, there's some smart people that cover the Raiders on a daily basis, the beat writers and so on. And so what are one of the first couple of questions they ask after the game, as you would expect? Did you not have confidence in your offense that you would instead kick a field goal and leave it up to your defense? Now, remember, the Raiders defense has been in the bottom of the league for 5 years. Okay. And it's not much better this year. So he says, what do you mean? We went for it earlier in the game. Not the question, my friend. The question is, at that moment when the game is on the line, you who've invested, by the way, the 5th most of any team in the NFL in your offense. Okay. When you look at cap dollars, they're number 5 on their offense. And it comes time for your offense and your new quarterback, by the way, that you brought in, that you had to get rid of the old guy for. Okay, fine. That was your decision. But that's the guy you brought in. He's stinking up the joint last night. And so what do? You kick the field goal because you have no confidence, but then you come back and say, no, it has nothing to do with confidence.
So Scott,
Yes, it
Scott,
does.
you're right. You're right. And me and Chris were arguing about this because I was making the case right after, and so was Chris Collinsworth, by the way, on the live TV broadcast. What are you doing? Your defense is not very good. You have the ball in the red zone. There's no guarantee you're ever going to get back to the red zone. You have an opportunity on a 4th and 4, get a 1st down, and then you give yourself a chance to tie the game with a 2-point conversion. Instead, he decides to kick the field goal. You hope that and you're hoping and praying basically that the opposing team in Pittsburgh doesn't get a 1st down. They did. And the game's over.
Okay, so let me respond, Brian. Let me respond because I was okay. He's talking about us. We're watching the game live, right, Gully? As I'm sure you were, right? So I was one of those people, and yes, it was Brian Shapiro and Chris Collinsworth on the broadcast. Was one chimed in and said, "Oh yeah, why would you?" I'm not sure you would. He wasn't exactly very strong in his convictions, by the way. Chris Collinsworth on the broadcast. It was like, oh yeah, I don't know if that's the right decision. That's kind of the way he said it. But I was in the camp, Gully. I'm going to say it. I stand by what I said. I was in the camp of, okay, I can get on board with this rationale and this thinking that, okay, you know what? Josh McDaniels is thinking field goal. It much like in basketball, right, Brian and Gully, where you want to extend the basketball game.
Yeah.
You want to extend the game. So I was on board at the time. Now, look, there's a lot of people after the game that want to be Monday morning quarterbacks and say, well, oh my God, absolutely. Like it was ridiculous. It's a ridiculous decision that you didn't go for it on that 4th down. But the thinking, there was some rational thinking, right, Gully, going into that decision by Josh McDaniels and his coaching staff that, hey, yes, and to all Gully's points, right, about the defense not being good this year, the thought was defensively we get a 3 and out. We have a chance to extend the game and win the football game.
And Chris, you're absolutely right. There's rationale there. I don't dismiss that. Just as there was rationale for Brandon Staley to go for it on 4th and 1 from his own 24, leading in the game against Minnesota. There's rationale there because he says, "Hey, if we get the 1st down, the game's over." Exactly. But is it the best decision? No, I don't think it's the best decision. And again, I just go back to And it is easy for us to question decisions like this because we're not making them. But I will say this. Your defense made Kenny Pickett, who is not a very good quarterback right now, look better than they should have. They moved the ball much more easily on the Raiders than anyone they faced, including the 49ers, by the way. And so you look at what they've done and on defense, and what confidence do you have? You can't rush the passer. Okay. They were getting gashed up in the defensive backfield as well on key plays when they dropped into the zone. And so I see that and I think to myself, boy, I rather you put your money where your mouth is. All your money's on the offense this year.
Agree.
Everything is on the offense. So why would you not go with the offense? That's the question I have, right?
Exactly.
So outside of just the decision, but the idea that you're so far invested in your offense, but yet at crunch time, you say, nah, we're going to give it to the defense.
That's exactly my way of thinking. Garoppolo is your guy. You paid him. This is your guy. Yet you want to rely on your defense, which has been bad for how many years now? And I don't blame that all on Josh McDaniels. Let me ask you this. I'm going to say some general statements here, Gully, and you tell me whether you agree or not.
Here we go.
Very general. Well, number one, Chris Wynn's blood pressure is way too high. We got to get it down. Josh McDaniels is not a good head football coach, and I do not believe the Raiders are going to be a good football team. When I mean good, I mean top 25% in the league. If Josh McDaniels is here, that's number one. Mark Davis is not a good owner. He's a really nice guy. I respect the hell out of him. He's not a good owner. And Garoppolo, under the right conditions, is a good QB with a great defense behind him. In this situation, he is an average QB at best. Agree or disagree with any of those statements?
I agree with parts of all of them. I'll start with the last one, Garoppolo. Yes. I mean, as my broadcast partner, Mo Moten, always says, and this happened when they signed Garoppolo, because he did not, he actually, believe it or not, he wanted them to sign Baker Mayfield over Jimmy Garoppolo. That's what he felt about Jimmy Garoppolo. But he said it, Jimmy Garoppolo in the 49ers system, great, fine, no problem, right? Coming over to Vegas, different story. And so I see that. I think with Josh McDaniels, you have to go with what you've seen. And here we are. I go back to December of last year. If I play a press conference from December of last year and I play last night's post-game press conference, boy, it sounds exactly the same, which tells me things have not improved. What are you not doing? The decision-making, the coaching, everything. As far as ownership goes with Mark Davis, look, to your point about being a nice guy, he's done a lot in the Vegas community since he's moved the team there, clearly. But whatever is happening here with the decision-making process, since 2011, when he took over after Al Davis died, it just hasn't gotten done. He's admitted that before, but it's easy to admit you have an issue or you haven't done well, but it's how you carry yourself forward. So I think they're at a key juncture. We talked about him not getting fired, McDaniels, that is, but you heard Devontae Adams last night, his comments.
Yeah,
and that
let's talk about that. Yeah,
the whole idea of, and I said this to you, I think a couple months ago, actually, guys, which was, I don't think he gets fired unless he loses the locker room. Now, 3 weeks in, Devontae Adams sends another shot across the bow.
Can I ask you?
And
about
I don't know. Go ahead.
I ask specifically about what you're talking about? Sorry to interrupt, but Devontae Adams, what I interpreted by his statements after the game was a nice way of saying, Josh McDaniels needs to go. That's what I got from the tape. Now, he's not going to say that, but he talked about the culture. He talked about the frustration of how they're not improving and that he's getting tired of it, or he alluded to the fact that, he doesn't have a lot of time left as an NFL player and this isn't working. To me, in my mind, hearing his words, he's saying in a nice way, Josh McDaniels is not, he's not the guy for that's what I interpreted from what he said. Am I wrong in interpreting it that way?
I think there's some of that there. I do, because he went on to say, hey, look, I think we have a good team. We have good talent here. We can do good things. So when you hear that, you're like, okay, so you have talent, then what's the problem?
Right.
And so certainly there's some issue there. Now, that also could be the quarterback, because Jimmy Garoppolo has been terrible. There's no other way to put it. I mean, he had the first game against Denver and had some nice things there, but he's got 6 interceptions and 5 touchdowns.
Yep.
He was supposed to be the guy that was efficient, is what we were told. He hasn't been very efficient. He's looked awful. Yesterday, he threw some balls that if I had Chris's blood pressure, I probably would have keeled over.
Right. And to your point, by the way, Gully, you talked about Mo, your co-host, right? Mo Moten. He just echoed your sentiment of what you just said here. Talk about the Raiders. They don't have an offensive identity, right? It's basically the Devontae Adams show with appearances occasionally from Jacoby Myers. Mark Nilsson, our guy, Patriot guy over here, is fired up talking about Jacoby Myers. But Jimmy G, you talked about the efficiency. The efficiency is not there. He has more picks than TDs, as you just pointed out. And oh, by the way, the Steelers scored 10 points off of those first 2 interceptions, right, Gully and Brian, in this game. It's not like Jimmy G's throwing interceptions, on Hail Marys at the end of halves, right? Or in situations where it's garbage time where it doesn't matter. These interceptions are in key spots of the game that are leading to the Raiders actually putting up L's in these situations.
Right. And then you think about they're now going on the road to Los Angeles, which is a very heavy Raider town. You're going to see a lot of Raider fans. You might see more Raider fans at SoFi than you did at Allegiant. Weird, isn't it?
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? Pittsburgh, had a lot of fans in there yesterday. I think that's a little bit embarrassing.
Yeah, what about that, Gully? There was more Steeler fans, right, than there was Raider fans.
Yeah, but it's weird. You're starting, and I'm not excusing it, right? Because I think, it sucks. But you're starting to see this phenomenon more everywhere, by the way. I don't know if you watched, unfortunately, my Irish lose to Ohio State at home.
It was Christmas time.
It was 40% Ohio State fans at Notre Dame Stadium. So this is something with this secondary market. People want to make money on tickets now. It's become a massive business. And so you're seeing it all over. Now you're going to see them go and probably have more Raider fans in LA. But they go down to LA, guys. And if they get just, bullied against the Chargers, then what? Then you start thinking about coach. Then you start thinking about court. Now, Garoppolo, obviously, now in the concussion protocol. I don't know if he got the concussion hitting his head on the locker. I don't know how that happened because there was nothing happening during the game. I know he got hit a lot. Don't get me wrong, got injured.
There was one hit that I recall, but it looked like it was more of his shoulder. If you remember when they got a personal foul, unnecessary roughness, that 15-yard penalty, but he got right back up. He was down for like a couple seconds. Listen, he got roughed up a little bit. He didn't, let's be honest, and to defend him a little bit, but he was terrible last night. We all agree, but he did not get the protection that he needed for your QB to be successful either. They were beaten every phase of the game yesterday. But with that being said, you got a couple capable backup QBs. What do you do? If you were the coach of this team, what do you do?
Well, they asked Josh McDaniels today at media availability because it looks like, there's a good percentage chance that Jimmy Garoppolo will not play Sunday because of this concussion protocol thing. So if that's the case, is it Brian Hoyer or is it the kid Aiden O'Connell? Of course, fans would all like to see Aiden O'Connell just to see what he has. Nobody thinks that Aiden O'Connell is going to take this team and turn them into a playoff team or anything like that. But you can at least see what he's got against top-level defenses in the NFL and how he handles the pressure. But he was non-committal and said, hey, I'm going to do what's good for my my football team. He did, I think, drop a little Easter egg hint when he said, hey, this isn't the preseason. Okay. Does that mean you're not going to play your young kid? You're going to put Brian Hoyer, and you said you got a Patriots fan there in the studio, Chris. Brian Hoyer, I'm 53 years old, and I think he's older than I am. I think
you guys were in college at the same time. You might have overlapped by years, right?
Probably. Seriously. Yeah, probably. But I will tell you this, what Brian Hoyer is. I understand why he's on the roster, but man, let the kid go out there and see what happens. You got nothing to lose. You're scoring 15 points a game, which is good for 29th in the NFL. It's time to light it up a little bit and see if somebody else can do something.
100%. I have to ask you this question again with Fire Josh McDaniels trending on Twitter. If they go 1-4, if they go 1-5, maybe even 1-6, do you think there's any possibility that Mark Davis would have the stones to pull the trigger? Any possibility at all?
I think there might be growing pressure because if you remember last year when they were struggling, there was a couple meetings after games where Mark Davis took Josh McDaniels aside in the locker room and they had conversations, whatever they were about. So I think, yes, especially to your point, if the team is fracturing and the locker room, we don't know that, right? There's no indication that that's happening. I want to make that perfectly clear. But if it starts to, which can, if you spiral out of control quickly, and he loses those guys, then he's got to start to think, okay, Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, these guys we want to keep in the fold. We want them to be Raiders for life. If that's the case, then you might need to start thinking about a decision that's drastic. I don't think they're there yet, Brian. I know fans want to fire him right now. I don't think it's there. And then you toss in the Dave Ziegler thing. How much control does Mark Davis want to exert over his GM is another thing, right? So we'll have to see. But clearly, it's not working. The offense isn't working. The defense isn't working. Complementary football is not happening in Las Vegas. And the Raiders are what they are, which is probably the 29th or 30th best team in the NFL.
Agree with what you said, and I put more on Josh McDaniels, not from just the coaching standpoint, but decision-making off the field. Garoppolo is here because of Josh McDaniels, okay? Derek Carr is not here because of Josh McDaniels. This is his team. This is his guy. It's on him. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Yeah, Scott, I agree with everything you said as well. We'll have to wait. It's going to be an interesting week. We'll see who starts, and look forward to having you on, Gully, as always, next week. Always appreciate your perspective, my friend. Keep up the great work, and hopefully we can be a little bit more positive next week, but there's not a lot of positivity right now. But
you can be positive, Gully, because your UNLV Rebels are probably going to knock off Hawaii on Saturdays.
Hey,
the other home
3-1, 3-1. UNLV football is the best football team in town. Who would have ever thought?
Right. You're right about that. Coaching, I've liked Coach Odom since day one. Gully, thanks for coming on, my friend. Always
all right, guys.
We'll catch you
Have a
next
great week.
Thank you. Not only a positive spot, let's end on a positive note, Chris.
Okay.
And don't worry, I won't talk about your blood pressure, but that's not positive. No, the Aces, we were both at the Aces game last night, Chris.
Absolutely.
And Asia Wilson's a beast. I mean, she's awesome. And
the best female basketball player in the world right now.
Stealing that from me. I said that
I
yesterday.
did. I didn't steal that.
She is.
See, I admit it when I steal your stuff, okay?
Don't steal
But
my
she
stuff.
is.
I won't pull an O.J.
Yes.
Simpson and meet you at Palace Station. But anyway, no, in all seriousness, Asia Wilson was a lot of fun to watch yesterday because not just of her offensive capabilities and how good of a player she is on that side, but how good she is on defense. I mean,
how about that? Hey, Brian, how about the kick in the backside? Becky Hammond gave them at halftime.
Well, what did I
Because
tell
they
you?
were not the same team coming out in the second half defensively that they were in that first half. Yeah.
They were up how many points at the half? Maybe 5 or
They're
6?
up, I want to say 4.
What did I say to you at half? What did I say to you?
You said that she is
Light
going
into
to
them.
rip into them in the locker room about their defensive
and it turned out I was right.
performance.
Asia Wilson said
And
she was
that's what
screaming
happened.
expletives.
Exactly. Asia was saying right, Brian, that the veins were popping out of Becky's
I would have
head
loved to have been
at
in that,
halftime.
I would have loved to have been in that locker room and heard that. But anyway, they responded, and they were much better defensively. Listen, Dallas has some bigs, but they're not very talented. Okay, they're not very coordinated. They're very big. They have a few players that can shoot the ball very
three
well.
contested.
But their starter, I forgot her name, the starter center. She's not very talented. She's just huge. And Asia Wilson is able to use her athletic ability, and it's no match for Asia Wilson. They shot the ball lights out. I don't expect them to shoot the ball as good tomorrow. But I expect them to win tomorrow. And it's also interesting that the New York Liberty lost game 1. That's a big bonus to the Aces because there's nothing more than the Aces would want to do than maybe get some rest. I still think the Liberty are the better team because it's a bad matchup.
All things considered, right? You're talking about
a bad
both rosters
matchup.
healthy.
It's
right.
a bad matchup for the Aces. However, if it goes the distance in that Liberty series and the Aces are able to win 3-0, my opinion's going to change. But anyway, we'll be at the game tomorrow night. Winn will be chowing down in the media room as always. And
You know the deal. I pretty much empty out everything that's.
Will you have a salad?
I will have I'll have a salad just like I had a salad yesterday before the game. All right.
Thank you to Mark, your roommate, for being here. And
Mark Nilsson, thanks
I
for
gotta
stopping
say,
by.
You did an A+ job administering those blood pressure tests. Honestly, you did a very
It's
good
almost
job.
like he's done it before.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
it's like a
We had
professional.
a little practice last night.
Yeah, that was
Crazy skills.
That was very impressive.
2 football games tonight,
Yes,
gentlemen.
we're going to be watching
Monday Night Football.
Monday Night Football
After
tonight.
the TC Martin show.
Yes, we might be attending it at a very fun place. I would assume. So we'll talk. I'll talk about that on the air tomorrow. And I appreciate all the MAGA callers raising my blood pressure. It's always appreciated. Thank you so much, Chris, for being here. And I also want to thank Jalen Dixon. That's the first time I've ever spoke to him. Really nice young man, and really happy for UNLV football. They're off to a nice start. Let's hope they continue the momentum. Always fun watching them play Hawaii, another game we're going to go to on Saturday. And then I got the Canelo Alvarez fight Saturday night. I was going to go see Collective Soul and Trim at Buffalo Bills, but I think I'm going to choose, yeah, exactly. I think I'm going to choose Canelo at...
It's not December yet.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's not December, one of my favorite Collective Soul songs of all time. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. We're going to take a 22-hour break. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Probably a little more politics tomorrow. I will be here solo. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you tomorrow.